Hey folks, Christina here. This is going to be a walkthrough of Pause and Practice 4, so Word Chapter 4. And I've already gotten our brochure document open from Blackboard. I've also already saved the document. So steps 1 and 2 are done. We're about to jump into step 3. But before we do that, I just want to remind everyone that if you're opening Microsoft Word using your apps, which is the 9 dots in your student email, you just want to double check over on the right side of your document. There's an editing drop-down button and you want to make sure that you're in the desktop version. I am in the desktop version, and I know that because down at the bottom under viewing, it doesn't say open in desktop version. So if you click your editing button and you see open in desktop, you want to click that to make sure that you have all of the features of the desktop version because the online version doesn't have all of the same features. Okay, so let's get started with step number 3, which tells us that we are going to go down to the end of the document and we're going to insert a table. So when you put your cursor or your insertion point down at the bottom, and then you're going to go to the Insert tab, and that's up at the top ribbon of your screen. And we're going to click on Table. And when we click that, it gives us lots of options. I'm going to click on Insert Table, and then it tells me that I need a 3 by 7 table. So I need 3 columns and 7 rows in my table. So I've got that added. That wraps up step number 3 for us. Now in step number 4, what we're going to do is type in some information to the table. So I'm going to pause the recording while I type that, and I'll be right back. All right, so I've gotten all the information typed in those table fields that we needed. We're going to move on to step number 5, which is where we'll delete a column and we'll insert rows. Now, one thing I want to point out when you're working with a table is you'll need the table layout tab, and that's not showing up in our tabs up top. To do that, to get that to show up, you just need to click into your table, and now you can see that up at the top row on my file ribbon, I've got table design and table layout. And if you click outside of your table, those two tabs disappear for you. So our instructions tell us to click that delete button in our table layout tab, and then we're going to go to delete, and we're going to just delete the column there. And so that bumps us over to 2 columns, just so you know how to delete a column now. Next, what we're going to do is we're looking to insert a row. So our instructions say we're going to place our insertion point in the second row and click the insert button in the same place we just went. So we're looking at the inserts here in the row and columns group. And what we want to do is insert a row below the second row. So when we click that, you can see that we've got a new row here, and it wants us to type in our next information. Oops, is trust and begins with communication. And then it says in step E for us to click the last cell of the table. So we're going to click in that bottom right-hand cell. And then we're going to press the Tab key, and that allows us to insert a new row into our table. And so then we've got some more information to type. So win-win and is always the goal. Perfect. And so we're done with that information. Our next step is going to ask us to auto fit the table and adjust those column row sizes. So what we need to do is place our insertion point in the table, and that's going to give us our table layout tab again. So up in our table layout, we're looking for the cell size group, and that's kind of toward the right-hand side of your screen. And we're to click the auto fit button in this one. And it asks us, we have some choices here. So basically we want to auto fit the information, auto fit to the contents. Perfect. Okay, once we've got that auto fit done, our next steps are basically we're going to change the sizes of some of the fields in our table. So letter C on number 6 says place the insertion point in the first column and change the width to 1.2 inches. And that's in our table layout in our cell size group. You can see we've got height and width options here. So we're going to change this to 1.2. And then it says place the insertion point in the second column. And we're going to change that width to 2. All right. And you can see our column sizes jump a little bit as we make those changes. On letter G, it says use the table selector handle. And just as a reminder, that is over to the top left of your table. It looks like kind of like a compass point in the square there. So it says we're going to select the entire table. So when I click that table selector, you can see that it highlights the table for me. And letter H says to go to the properties button, which is over on the left side of your screen. And we're going to open the table properties dialog box. Letter I says we're going to click the row tab and check the specify height box. So here's our row tab, and here is our specify height box. And it gives us instructions that we're going to type 0.25 in the height field, and then we're going to select exactly from the row height in the drop-down list. All right. Then we're going to click OK to close this table's properties box, and that applies those settings for us. Let's move on to step number 7, which is where we insert a row and merge cells. Letter A tells us to click anywhere in the table. Your table may not still be highlighted like mine was not. That's okay. And we're going to select the first row of the table. You may need to right click to do this. For me, I can left click and highlight that one. So we've got that first row highlighted. Then we're going to click the Insert button on the mini toolbar and insert above to add a new row to the table. So this mini toolbar here has an insert. We're just going to click that little drop down, and then it gives us options of where we want to insert. We're just going to do above. And that moves us down to step D. It says select the first new row, which ours is already selected. And we're going to click the Merge Cells button, which is in your Table Layout tab, and it's in your Merge area. So merging your cells basically puts them all together as one. You can see once I clicked that merge, it took the little line in between the cells away. And then we are going to type the Placer Hills belief system in this box. And that takes us down to step number 8. So we're going to sort the table by text in the first column on step number 8. And it just asks us to select the second through the 10th last rows of the table and don't select the first row. So we're going to select everything except that first row. And then we're going to click the sort button, which is in our table layout tab and the data group. So we'll look for the data group, and it's over here all the way to the right. We'll click on sort, and then that opens our sort dialog box. And step number C tells us we want to sort by. So we're going to click that drop down, and we're going to choose sorting by column number 1. And then we're going to click the ascending box. Mine's already clicked. And you can leave the type as text here. And then using paragraphs. So those two will stay the same for me. Just double check yours to make sure that it matches. And then we'll click OK, and that sorts it by alphabetical order for us. All right, that's going to take us to step number 9 of this pause and practice. And it says we're going to change the cell margins and the text alignment. So we're going to select the entire table. And if you don't remember how to do that, you're just going to click the table selector over to the left. And then it says we're going to click the Cell Margins button, which is in the Table Layout and the Alignment group. So we'll go to Table Layout and Alignment. And this is where we're looking for our cell margins. So that's going to be on the right side here. And we're going to change our left and right margins to 0.05. Oops, let me get on the right one there. 0.05 for both of these. And then we're going to check the automatically resize to fit contents if it's not already checked. Mine is, and that's down at the bottom under options. Then we'll click OK, and it made just a tiny little shift for us on our table. Our next step, step E, says we're going to click the Align Center Left button, which is the first alignment button in the second row. And this, I've got a little picture of this here because this one's kind of tricky. So we're going to go to the Table Layout tab. Then we're going to go to the Alignment group, which is over here to the right. And what we're looking for is the Align Center Left. So it's the first alignment button in the second row. So that's this one. And if you hover over it, you can see that it tells you what the titles are for these different alignments. All right, and then letter F asks us to place the insertion point in the first row of the table. So we're going to do that. And then we're going to click the Align Center button, which is just in the middle of this little 9 alignment area. And that gets us centered there. Next, it says we're going to save and close this document. So you have a couple of options here. You can do file save as. Remember, if you have file save a copy, that generally means your autosave is on. So go ahead and save that document, and that will wrap up Pause and Practice 4-1.